Part 92. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 911. Chapter 911. I didn't expect Mr. Huo to have a hobby of cuckolding. M.R.S. Lee, what do you mean by this? Why do you mean that I am really embarrassing you? I am not embarrassing you, but I am telling the truth. I'm thinking about you. Huo Linyuan remembered how much he suffered from this woman. You know, no one has ever had the guts to let her suffer. Not to mention that this person is still a woman. This can be said to be a great shame and humiliation for Huo Linyuan. Even this period of time became a thorn in Huo Linyuan's heart. Moreover, this thorn is different from other thorns. If Sunian were a man, he could use some means to retaliate by himself. But the key point is that Sunian belongs to a woman. If you really want to attack a woman like Sunian, whether you win or lose, you will not look good. You know, if a thorn is stabbed hard into the body, there is no way to pull out this thorn, which is very uncomfortable. How could he let go of such a good opportunity now? Sunian started to applaud after Li Baikan finished speaking. Rules, ha ha ha, Mr. Huo, you are a man of rules. This is the funniest joke I have heard recently. Even now I feel that you will never hear a funnier joke than this one. Sunian's directness made Huo Linyuan narrow his eyes slightly. Sunian, no woman has ever spoken in such a tone in front of me. You are very special, very special. Mr. Huo, how did your mother talk to you? Was it like talking to your subordinates? Haha, Mr. Huo, if that's the case, then you really opened my eyes. Huo Linyuan. However, in a sense, it is normal for you to be like this. After all, Mr. Huo, you particularly like cuckold men. No wonder you have such a hobby. M.R.S. Lee, do you know what you are talking about? I can understand your thoughts now, but I hope you can respect people. How can I respect you and ask for someone else's promise to my woman? Haha, that means I know that my man has nothing to do with your woman. If I really don't know, then I won't be to death. That's the weird thing. Sunian also suddenly thought of it. You must know that in this novel, the stupid heroine is used to highlight the halo of the heroine, or to add a golden finger to the heroine. It was arranged that after the death of the male protagonist Li Baikan, all the property would be inherited by the female protagonist Lan Min. And why is Sunian so fearless in the face of this so-called male protagonist? It could also be because of some so-called reason, but it's just because of what I experienced in my previous life. M.R.S. Lee, you really are a bit unreasonable. What a strong theory. If you don't believe it, then we can ask anyone to see if it is this theory, or you can record it for me like that dead ghost in my family. You are using strong words. How can I make excuses? Mr. Huo, why don't you let me talk about your hobby of wearing a green hat? Mr. Huo, you are a 7-foot man after all. Why can't you have some moral integrity? You also said that what I just said spread out. What will others think? Huo Linyuan really didn't expect that Sunian would be such a shrew and behave completely unreasonably. Sunian. Mr. Huo, what do you mean by this? Why did you suddenly call me by my name without saying it like M.R.S. Lee? What do you mean? Is this your courtesy from Huo Linyuan? If this is really the case, so it means I have learned a lot. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 912. Chapter 912 blows the hero's lungs. If it's not about saving face. So Li Jianhong really wants to applaud now. She is indeed his daughter-in-law, Li Jianhong, and she is such a slippery talker. Mr. Huo. Sunian, you really know how to speak. Sunian glanced lightly. It's not about speaking, but a logical question. If you really have a hobby of cuckolding, then I hope you can let your woman change her partner. After all, I don't have one. I am a very selfish person and I don't want my man to have any so-called contact with other women. In this situation, Huo Linyuan was obviously at a disadvantage. If he were facing someone else at this moment, then he would definitely forget it. But it was Sunian he was facing at this moment. If this is the case now, then what so-called face does he have as a man? It can be said that it is almost laughable. Huo Linyuan's male dignity would not allow such a thing to happen. Quite not allowed. Just when Huo Linyuan, the male protagonist, was thinking about how to deal with it, Sunian continued to speak. After all, there aren't many turn-based games that adults like. And Mr. Huo, don't you really feel that there is something wrong with what you are saying here now? If a company controls the company, it requires the board of directors to agree. Even if it is stipulated by the law, then as his wife, I am his first heir. Let's not talk about you, it's just Lan Minu, this is what Li Baikan said himself. I said it myself, so what does it mean? Is this a will? If this is a will, what evidence is there? Is there a lawyer? If there is a lawyer, can you tell me what it is? Lawyer, as Li Baikan's legal wife, I feel it is necessary for me to meet. And even if there is a lawyer, it may not be possible. When Sunian said this, he paused, then carefully looked at the man in front of him, and then looked at him with an idiot look. Don't you really know anything about the law? Don't you know about business law? Do you really think that if a company's manager suddenly has an accident, then just a random person can make a statement about this person's position in a company, everything, even the position of a legal person? Mr. Huo, don't you really think it's ridiculous? Huo Linyuan. When Sunian finished saying this, she felt as happy as she wanted. Who doesn't know that there are no laws in a Mary Sue? At this moment, Sunian really felt that he had gone too far. After all, he was talking about the law to a person who didn't know the law at all. Hey, now Sunian finally understands why she is destined to become a vicious female supporting role. After all, I am so vicious to begin with. Li Jianhong also knew that he should cooperate now, so he immediately said, Lin Yuan, after all, you keep calling me uncle, and I can't let you call me uncle in vain. In this way, if you really don't know, then I will buy it for you and have it delivered directly to your house. Do you think this is okay? Huo Linyuan's lungs were exploding with anger now. This Sunian is really not a simple speaker, but a super speaker. But even if this is the case, what else can he do? He can only smile and say, if this is really the case, then I will first say thank you to Uncle Li, thank you for being so good to me. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 913. Chapter 913. The child must be caught. When Huo Linyuan returned home, I happened to meet Lan Min, who was suffering from morning sickness. Lan Min's appearance at this moment is really as embarrassing as he needs to be. You must know that any woman looks perfect when she appears in front of Huo Linyuan. If it's normal, forget it. Normally, Huo Linyuan might still have some sense. Thinking that Lan Min was carrying his own child, if he really didn't understand it, then he wouldn't be a man. But, Huo Linyuan's heart is really as troubled as he wants now. Plus, Li Baikan's video was given to him by Lan Min. How could Huo Linyuan maintain his sanity under such circumstances? Look at what you are like now, what you are like now, why are you so slovenly, what is wrong with you, Huo Linyuan, am I lacking something in you, or am I short of you? You must know that Lan Min is already weak and pregnant. These words now really make Lan Min as uncomfortable as possible. Linyuan, what do you mean? Why are you treating me like this? What's wrong with you? Lan Min said with disbelief on his face. I have your child in my belly now. How can you can say that? Why can't I say that? Do you think that giving me a child is a meritorious service, so I have to obey you? Haha, Lan Min, you have to know that if I want a child, then I have to. Many women have taken the initiative to get pregnant by me, and it can even be said that they have been pregnant for a long time. Do you understand? It's the opportunity I gave you. I really didn't expect that. Not only were you ungrateful, but you actually took advantage of me with your behavior like this. You really made me feel that I had seen the wrong person. As a pregnant woman, how could Lan Min endure this? I immediately held my stomach and slowly sat on the sofa. Lin Yuan. What's wrong with you? Don't tell me that you're not feeling well. If you don't know this, you'd think I've done something to you. Haha, Lan Min, you really disappoint me now. However, even though Huo Linyuan said so, he still called the servant. The medical team arrived quickly. But I didn't expect that after a full set of examinations, the result was that Lan Min was fine at all. If you put it another way, then Lan Min is pretending. Huo Linyuan was really feeling a little guilty at first, but after hearing what the doctor said, his face became even more miserable. Lin Yuan, I really didn't lie to you. I feel really uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. My stomach really hurts now. Lan Min felt really uncomfortable. Why do you feel uncomfortable? The doctor has checked you up and down. Why are you still saying you feel uncomfortable now? Lan Min, what do you mean? Are you playing the cry wolf game with me here? Then you should also know what happened to that kid in the game Cry Wolf. Can you really afford that kind of fate? Huo Linyuan is really in no mood to stay anymore. Even though Lan Min really has nothing to do, Huo Linyuan clearly knows his current mood. If he continues to stay here, he may really vent his mood on her. At that time, there would be no so-called benefits for Lan Zhen and the child in her belly. So Huo Linyuan left without looking back. The more this happened, the more anxious Lan Min became. Why is this happening? It was obviously fine before. It can even be said that everything was fine in the morning. Why is this happening? Lan Min's stomach was really hurting at this moment. He wasn't pretending. But Lan Min knew very well that the only thing she could hold on to was the child in her belly. Nothing could happen to the child in her belly, nothing could happen. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 914. Chapter 914. Don't worry, I don't think I'll give him a chance to feel sorry for you. The next day, the video of Li Baikan went viral on the internet. Everyone was shocked. Although everyone knew how Li Baikan fell in love with Lan Min at the beginning, they really didn't expect that Li Baikan could actually achieve this. You must know that it is a company worth hundreds of billions. If you say give it to a woman, give it to a woman. Is this love? However, this also makes people more curious about why Li Baikan was injured. At the same time, I am also curious about whether Lan Min will take over everything from Li Baikan, and what Sunian, the real wife, is doing now. Is she just watching? Watching your love rival get everything that belongs to your husband? But just when these people on the internet are making troubles. As the protagonist, Sunian is also feeling a little unhappy. Although she knows very well that all this is set by the plot, and the author's writing in this way can not only express the personality charm of the heroine, but also show the affection of the second male lead. This is all known from the beginning. Sunian didn't know why, she just felt a little depressed, but she couldn't tell what the depressed feeling was. This made Sunian not want to go back to take care of Li Baikan. Although it is clear that it is the fault of the plot, I can't say anything at all. Also unhappy was Li Jianhong. Li Jianhong is now filled with anger. This stinky boy, this guy, I really don't know what is going on in his head. Did he build this company? He conquered this world, it's all me. What I made was given to others as soon as I said it would be given to others. I really don't know now whether I threw the baby away and left this placenta, so that this brat can be so angry with me. It's really disgusting. The reason why Lee Ji-eunhong didn't get angry before was because he really didn't believe that his son could do it, so he took the sound to a professional institution for identification. Originally, I thought that if I found out that Huo Linyuan was pretending, he could use this to counter Huo Linyuan, but I didn't expect that it was actually true. Now Lee Ji-eunhong really wants to go back and strangle that brat to death. Sunian couldn't help but want to laugh when she saw the old man like this. The reason for this is that when faced with such a situation in his previous life, the old man had no so-called energy at all. The attitude of wanting to kill someone. Dad, calm down. But Sunian was interrupted before he finished speaking. Nian, stop talking. You don't need to be so sensible at this time. You really don't need to be so sensible. You really don't have to do it for that stinky person, boy. Stop talking. The more you talk now, the more I feel sorry for you and the more I want to kill that guy. How could I give birth to such a son? I'm really angry. I don't know where love started, but it ended in love. It's really good for him to be like this. If it weren't for his attitude towards feelings, then how could I fall in love with him? After all, that woman hopes to have someone who will give up everything for herself. But then... Okay, that's all in the past. Dad, don't worry. I will definitely look at Baiken carefully now. I will never let Baiken look at anyone else again. Let him only look at me. I really have confidence in myself in the future and can make Baiken treat me better. Don't worry, I won't let him have the chance to feel sorry for you. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 915. Chapter 915. Why don't you go home so late? Lee Ji-eunhong did not stay with Sunian for long. After all, this news was released like this, and he had to deal with it. To deal with it harshly. Sunian continued to handle the company's affairs in the office. If it were before, then Sunian would definitely go back early. But today Sunian has been working overtime non-stop. Until 9 o'clock in the evening, I had no intention of going home. Josu couldn't help but come to Sunian to ask. Unexpectedly, the reply I received was that there were too many things to do today and I would not go back. Josu was stunned when he heard this. Indeed, he followed Lee Baiken. Lee Baiken was often busy until late at night, and then lived directly in the company. But this is the first time for Sunian. If Madam is really a little busy, then I will go find Miss Sun to help you. Sunian looked at the document without looking up at all. It's okay, I'm not particularly busy. Josu, you should understand that sometimes it is a bit too busy to do things alone, but if you call another person, it will really be a bit overwhelming. The feeling of excess. But madam, it's not safe for you here now. Whoever is able to attack Sunian and Lee Baiken at the same time, no matter who they are, their methods are not simple. If they do not follow common sense, another attack may happen. You must know that some things are not afraid of 10,000, but afraid of just in case, just in case. If the so-called contingency does happen, it will be impossible to make up for it no matter what the price. Sunian understood what he meant. Okay, I'll deal with it quickly later. When I'm done, we'll go back. Josu had already prepared a lot of words to persuade Sunian, but he didn't expect that Sunian would take the initiative to agree. Josu really doesn't know what to say now. Now Josu really feels that he is so happy, even if he has found such an easy job, his boss is still so considerate. Well, ma'am, just keep busy, I'll wait for you downstairs. After saying this, Josu hurriedly left. Sunian then continued to read the documents. Time is passing by like this minute by minute. I don't know how long it took before the office door was pushed open again. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Sunian said without raising his head, "Josu, don't worry, I'll just give you a moment, just give me a moment, and I'll take care of the matter, really quickly." After Sunian said this, her hand was held by someone. The moment he was held by someone, Sunian's heart tightened inexplicably. "Why don't you go home so late?" the man's deep voice rang out. "Hey, I don't usually feel that way, but today I don't know why, but I really feel a little bit eager to see through it. It's like this. I haven't finished handling the things today. I feel that if I leave it to tomorrow, then there will be more work tasks tomorrow, and then I will have more and more things to do. If this is the case, then why don't you get it done today and just go home a little later?" But after Sunian finished speaking, the office fell into silence. Such silence is a bit uncomfortable. Just when Sunian wanted to say something to dispel the uncomfortable feeling, Lee Baiken's cheek touched hers. "Is that really the case?" After saying this, Lee Baiken even sighed. "If that's the case, then it's really great. You're just a little busy, so it's not because of the internet. Angry about those things. How could I be angry because of things on the internet? After all, I knew from the beginning that it was posted by this guy Lee Baiken. If I were still angry because of this, wouldn't it look a bit silly? Huh, I'm not stupid." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 916. Chapter 916. The gift Lee Baiken carefully selected. Lee Baiken saw the arrogant look on the little woman's face, but he had no intention of relaxing. Instead, he continued, "Although I know you are not such a stingy person, when I came here, I felt that I had to prepare for the worst for everything, so I prepared a gift to coax you, although you don't mean to be angry now, but I think you can still open the gift. Would looking at me make you feel better?" Looking along Lee Baiken's hand, Sunian saw a gift box. Not to mention anything else, Sunian felt good about Lee Baiken's attitude. "I saw that the gift box was beautifully packaged, and the fireworks on it were very beautiful. But it's a bit long. It's about 80 centimeters. So when the man brought the gift in front of her, she couldn't help but ask, "What is this?" The man did not answer, but tapped lightly with his fingers. "Guess." Sunian looked at it for a few seconds. "Hey, it's not good for a man to be too rich, because then you can't guess what the man is giving you. After all, money can really buy a lot of things. If you can't guess, then open the gift. I put a lot of thought into this gift just to make you happy. Take a look at it and evaluate it to see if I put all my heart into it." Sunian then started to open the gifts. Sunian really didn't know what to say when he opened it and saw what was inside. But at this moment, Lee Baiken put his arm around Sunian's waist and said in a serious tone, "Well, I chose this gift carefully. The gift is thoughtful, Sunian really doesn't know how to evaluate it. The reason why I say this. Because the gift she opened was a washboard. That's right, it's the washboard where clothes are washed." When Sunian saw something, he really felt that there was something wrong with his brain or his eyes. But when Sunian closed his eyes and opened them a few times, all he saw was the washboard. A real washboard, not a washboard with any adulteration. "I know that although you don't say it, you really mind it, but I really can't go back to the past or change the past. I'm not very good at sweet words, so I can only use this as a way to prove it to you, thinking that if you are angry, then I will take out this thing and kneel directly in front of you. I think that such a good attitude should make you feel better, and it can also prove myself and my heart. Of course, if you feel that it is not good, then I can also think of other ways. Sunian couldn't help complaining when he heard this. Are you really not good at sweet words? Why don't I think so? Humph, I really don't know how this person can say such a thing. If he can't say it, are there any people in this world who can say sweet words? Obviously not. But, I'm really a little curious. I wonder what Lee Baiken would look like if he really kneeled on the washboard. Speaking of which, it's really a pity. If I had known that this guy was so prepared, I would have been angry. Hey, thinking about it this way, it really becomes more and more pity. Let me think about it carefully, think about what this man said wrong just now, or what happened in the past, and try to find some trouble. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 917. Chapter 917. A very hard-hearted little woman. Lee Baiken saw the little woman's expectant eyes. You will know you have succeeded. It seems like a good idea. Since he is in such a good mood, if he does not do something as a husband, he would really be derelict in his duties. Sunian then heard Lee Baiken say, I just bought something, and I also brought this as a gift here. It would be a bit of a waste if I didn't try it. This directly made Sunian look at him in disbelief. What does this mean? What does Lee Baiken mean by this? Could it be? Let's try my choice. If you are satisfied with it, my dear, then if I really make you unhappy in the future, how about you punish me like this? Although Sunian has a strong curiosity, but Sunian's sanity is still there. Sunian quickly stopped him. Do you know what you are talking about? If the news really gets out, you will be so embarrassed. Do you want face? If you don't want face, then I still want face. What do you mean? I bow to my own wife. It's embarrassing. I don't believe it. In the eyes of others, it is a very bad thing to lose face with your own wife. When Lee Baiken said this, he held her wrist. Sunian didn't know what was going on, but now Sunian felt that Lee Baiken's fingertips were very hot, very hot. Then he saw Lee Baiken putting things on the ground. You can think of it. A man wearing a haute couture suit kneels directly in front of you on an extremely ordinary washboard. Lee Baiken was very satisfied with Sunian's expression at this moment. He knew he was doing the right thing. Lee Baiken was really anxious after seeing the comments online. The reason why Lee Baiken chose fainting was to elicit the tape in Lan Min's hand. This is something he just thought of a few nights ago. That video was bound to come out sooner or later anyway, and he didn't think it was Huo Linyuan who did it this time. If that was the case, he might as well take this opportunity to get the bomb out of Lan Min's hand. Those people on the internet, he really wants to kill those guys. Those people have no so-called thinking ability at all. What do they know? They just talk nonsense when they don't understand anything. So he is really distressed now. As long as it can make Sunian happy, then no matter what it is, it will be fine. I was wrong, it was all my fault, that's why you suffered such injustice. Since her curiosity was satisfied. That's enough. Sunian then quickly tried to help the man up. Okay, get up. Don't kneel like this. But Lee Baiken didn't move at all. Sunian laughed when she saw his posture. Why don't you move? Didn't you listen to me? You didn't listen to me. Don't you think it's a bit bad if you do this too much? But Lee Baiken still made no move. This made Sunian a little confused. But just when Sunian was about to say something, the man held her arm and brought her directly into his arms. Hey, has anyone ever told you that your heart is really soft? No, I am not soft-hearted, I am very hard-hearted. I remember there is a saying on the internet, don't feel sorry for a man. If you feel sorry for a man, you will become unfortunate. Sunian. Sunian looked at the guy in front of him and really didn't understand his brain circuit. So he immediately snorted, "What do you mean? Do you want to coax me? Do you want to see me angry? If you really want me to be angry, then I will directly show my anger to you now. No, no, I definitely don't have such thoughts. Just seeing you like this, I really fall in love with you more and more." As he spoke, he kissed Sunian's lips. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Which John Word. Chapter 918. Chapter 918. The male protagonist comes to correct his remarks. There is so much public opinion online. How could Huo Linyuan not do something? Just like that, Huo Linyuan arrived soon. This time Huo Linyuan not only came, but also came with Lan Min. The moment I saw Lan Min again, Sunian had a bad premonition. This male protagonist, who is so domineering in this novel world, does he want to take advantage of the pregnant female protagonist? This method. Just when Sunian was confused, Huo Linyuan's voice continued, "There is something wrong with the legal provisions you mentioned before. Sunian. Could it be that this guy came here just to struggle with this matter? This is really a bit. People come all the way here just to remind themselves of this." If she didn't show her attitude, Sunian, a vicious female supporting role, would feel that she was going too far. He immediately stood up straight and said respectfully, "Thank you, Mr. Huo, thank you for reminding me. You are really a good person. You are simply a great person. I apologize to you for my ignorance." Huo Linyuan. You must know that Huo Linyuan originally thought that this woman would be tough and argue with him. Who knew that Sunian had such a good attitude? Sunian's good attitude really made Huo Linyuan not know what to say. It really feels like a fist hitting cotton. Suddenly the time became quiet. The whole office fell into a weird atmosphere. And Josu, who was behind Sunian, really wanted to give Sunian a thumbs up. MRS is really worthy of being a wife, she can actually say this. After the atmosphere was deadlocked for about 3 minutes, Sunian spoke again, "By the way, Mr. Huo, besides coming here to remind me of this matter, what else do you want to say? I am not very good at anything else. I just have a very good attitude. Don't worry, I will definitely change it. You should know that there is a saying, don't hit someone with a smiling face." So in this situation, Huo Linyuan didn't know what to do. Of course Lan Min knows that this is the time to prove his usefulness. He said with a smile, "Sunian, what you said is a bit harsh. We just suddenly thought and wanted to correct you. This Linyuan is good at everything, but sometimes he is a bit too real-minded, so don't think too much. So that's it, Lan Min. To be honest, the way you came in just now really scared me. If you didn't know better, you would have thought that I had committed some so-called heinous mistake. It scared me to death." When Sunian said this, he touched his heart with his hand. Looking like he has lingering fears. Originally, Huo Linyuan planned to directly expose Sunian's nonsense before deceiving him, and then take advantage of this situation to continue the next thing. But the current situation is not at all what Huo Linyuan thought. This really made Huo Linyuan a little at a loss. Lan Min has been with Huo Linyuan for so many years and knows Huo Linyuan's temperament very well. Moreover, in such a situation, if he really wants to be embarrassed, he would rather embarrass himself than embarrass his man. The key point is that Huo Linyuan has been very critical of himself recently. Why don't he take this opportunity to show off his performance well? It's like this. You guys had a bit of an unpleasant quarrel last time, but some things still need to be resolved. Now, I believe you, Sunian, also know the news outside. Do you really want to continue? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 919. Chapter 919 Threat. Then what can you do? Do you really want me to give the company to you? Haha, if you really have such an idea, then I hope you won't say it. After all, don't you feel embarrassed? But don't you listen to what Baiken wants? Baiken has his own plans for everything he does. You keep saying that you love Baiken, but you don't do what Baiken wants. What do you mean? Well, Lan Min himself thinks this is silly. But there is no way. With Huo Linyuan's attitude towards him now, he must do something and let Huo Linyuan see his ability. Even if there is a child in the belly. But as Huo Linyuan said, there are really many women in this world who can bear children for him, and he is not special at all, nor special at all. You must let Huo Linyuan see your own value. Even if it's something stupid, then you have to do it yourself. If Sunian knew what Lan Min was thinking at this moment, he would definitely laugh hard. Lanji now knows what is stupid and what is not stupid. Then what are you going to do? Sunian just threw the question back. I know very well what you mean, and I also know very clearly that if you really ask Linyuan to come to the company to help you, it will definitely cause misunderstandings. My meaning is still in accordance with Baiken's meaning. In fact, Lan Min didn't want to show this video. But there is no way, Li Baiken has completely broken with himself and completely betrayed himself. He forgot those words and promises that he said he would stay with him for the rest of his life. I must let Li Baiken know what the consequences will be if he breaks his promise. You can also find a sense of presence in Huo Linyuan. Smart people will know what to do. You mean to let you take Baiken's place and become the CEO of Li Group? I know very well what you are thinking, Sunian. You have a lot of opinions about me. But take a good look at the current situation. If you really don't take action, there will be people watching in the dark. It's not that simple to let us go. Now Baiken's life and death are uncertain. You really hope that when Baiken wakes up, you will see that all your hard work is gone. What nonsense are you talking about? Why is Baiken's life and death uncertain? Baiken is fine. How can you curse Baiken like this? You really went too far. Sunian's face suddenly became fierce. Stand up. And Sunian took a few steps quickly. He walked to Lan Min, only one step away from him. At this level, Lan Min subconsciously covered his stomach. The reason for this was that Lan Min suddenly felt that Sunian was a bit scary. He has a really scary feeling about him. The feeling of terror cannot be described in words. Sunian, what do you mean you are so excited? Is there something going on in Baiken? Originally, Lan Min wanted to say that she could go see Baiken. But before the words came to her lips, Lan Ji's consciousness returned. This is not the time to talk about this. He immediately spoke, in other words, if you don't follow Baiken's wishes, what are your intentions? I don't have any bad intentions. You can do whatever you want, but can you really bear all the consequences? Sunian's long life was not in vain. Lan Min is so anxious, so don't blame yourself for taking action. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 920. Chapter 920. What are the brain cells of this woman thinking? What are the consequences? What do you mean by this, Sunian? What do you want to do? You guess. There was a smile on Sunian's face. Guess, what do I want to do? Miss Lan, you are so smart, you can stand out among so many people and become Mr. Huo's sweetheart, and then come to me. How could you be anything, simple person? Since you are not a simple person, you can definitely guess what I want to do. Sunian, haven't you kept saying that you love Baiken? Now that Baikan is like this, you still want to be like this because of your prejudice against me. Do you really think it's good? Lan Shi, I really feel like you only have moral kidnapping. I don't know how it works for others, but we have been dealing with each other for so long. Don't you really understand? I am an immoral person, and your method of moral kidnapping is really useless to me. And I didn't say anything. I just talked about the consequences. What consequences will there be if you really don't follow me at this time? Do you think that you are standing casually in Baikan's position? What does this company mean? Is it a spring outing for primary school students? From the moment Lan Min met Sunian, he felt that this woman was very pretentious and fake. It's that feeling that can't be expressed. Previously, Lan Min thought that he was thinking too much, but now he really doesn't think too much at all. This Sunian pretended to be so sensible in front of Li Baikan, but in front of him, he looked like this, which was really disgusting. Originally, Lan Min wanted to use this opportunity to make Huo Linyuan feel that she could not only be an obedient lover, but also a helpful wife. Now Lan Yan really feels that this is really an opportunity. Baikan can be allowed to see the true face of this woman. If this is really the case, then everything can go back to before. When Lan Min thought of this, his eyes became more confident. Sunian just happened to see this confidence. This confident look really made Sunian a little curious. I wonder what the brain cells of this heroine are thinking. Humiliating yourself in this way can be said to be an insult in the face. Why does this heroine still look so confident? What is the structure of his brain? Why have no scientists studied the structure of Mary Sue's brain? Sunian even felt that if he really wanted to study it, there would be a major breakthrough in the history of human evolution. Okay, looking at you like this, you can't imagine what the consequences I'm talking about are. If that's the case, then I'll give you a good example. As we all know, in this long history, the status of us women is very low. We do a little bit wrong, or even we just attract a little attention, but everyone knows that I am the one from Baikan. Wife, the mistress of the entire Li family. Now that something happened to my husband, not only did I not do anything for my husband, but another woman came. What do you have with my husband, whose is the child in your belly? Sunian, you understand what you are going to say? Lan Min became anxious when he heard this. After all, Huo Linyuan is here now. She knew Huo Linyuan's temperament very well. End of this chapter.